Hi, so in this video I'm going to be going over how to use an Echo Smart Pen. I'm going to try to recreate one of my training sessions. Now I understand the camera angle is not ideal. I tried playing around with different angles. I apologize if it's hard to see anything. I will be doing my best to make it look as decent as possible, so just bear with me. So again, I'm working with an Echo Smart Pen. If you don't know what it does, basically it works as a normal pen, so you can just write on paper as you normally would. But there are special notebooks that go with this pen that the importance of which will become clear very soon. The main functionality of this pen, aside from being a normal pen, is that it has a microphone built in. It's kind of hard to see on the camera, but if you can see that circular dot right there in between the LED screen and the speakers right here, uh, that microphone will record what is going on around you. So it will record your teacher, professor, lecturing as you were recording your notes. This is incredibly helpful for students who have um, any sort of physical disability that might prevent them from writing very quickly. It also can help a lot of students who just, for whatever range of disabilities, just cannot keep up with the class notes and cannot keep up with the pace that it is going at. This allows students to relive their lecture. Because what will happen is not only is it recording your lecture through this microphone, it's actually syncing your written notes to the to the audio as well. So you can upload this into a computer program called Echo Desktop, and then you can watch yourself writing your notes in real time and listen back to the lecture in real time. So you can basically relive the lecture that you sat through, which is incredibly helpful for a wide range of disabilities. So I'm just going to first go over quickly the hardware of the pen itself. It's very simple. There's only one button on this pen. It's the power button up here. Again, I apologize if the camera's a little grainy if it's hard to see. There's a power button up here. If I press this, one press turns it on, one press turns it off, and you can see now the LED screen is running. So it'll show you the time and the battery life by default. This message will change as you do different things with the pen. As I pointed out earlier, you have a microphone here, this circular dot. Again, I apologize, it's so grainy. And then you have a speaker right here. So it can play your recordings out loud if you want to. It's not required to. You also have a headphone jack at the very top of the pen up here. So there's a headphone jack, and there's also a place where you can plug in a charging cable. Each pen that we loan to students comes in a case like this. They're different colors. And in each case should be the pen, obviously, and a charging cable like this. This is a micro USB cable. Any students who have their own micro USB cables could certainly use their own, but we still will loan this one to them. So this tiny end will just plug straight into the top right up here. And then the USB portion would go right into your computer. So that is how you will be uploading your notes to the computer program as well as charging your pen. Aside from all this up here, the last part of the physical hardware of the pen is this cap that you can see that's on the tip of the pen. This is probably the easiest part of the pen to lose, and I recommend students just put this in your case or somewhere else in your backpack that's safe so you know it's there, you're not going to lose it while you're using the pen. Sometimes this can get on there a little tight, so you might have to use a little force. You're not going to break the pen, you just got to pull it right off. It slides back in very easily. There's a little divot right here in the cap. Again, it's hard to see because of the camera, but there's a divot right here, and you want that divot to you want the ink to sit within that divot, and then just slide the cap back on. Pretty simple. So I'm going to take it back off, put it over here. You can see the ink here is just normal ink. It's just a regular ink cartridge, and it's actually, the only thing not normal about it is it's magnetic, so you can actually grab onto the ink and pull it straight out. And it's just, that's it, just an ink cartridge. Whenever you want to replace it with a new ink cartridge, you would just take the old one out like that, you slide the new one back in, and when you press it in all the way, now it will stay. So if I give it a little shake, you can see it's not going to come out. So very simple, and again, this is normal ink. So while I said there are special notebooks that go with this pen, you can write on normal paper if you have to. There's going to be situations where you have to jot a note down really quick, and you certainly can write on any surface you normally would with a pen. All right, so went over the hardware stuff now. I'm going to go over just how to use the pen basically to record your notes. And like I said, we have these special notebooks here. They come in packs of 4. So you can see up here is a number 1. You'll have 1 through 4. We also have 5 through 8 available in the office as well. So if students are taking more than 4 classes at a time, we can give them extra notebooks. They want to separate their classes into separate notebooks, obviously. Each notebook will also have this sticker, and you can't see it from this angle, but it says tap here to archive, and there's a circle right here. I will go over that in a little bit, but that is very important, and you want to make sure that students do not rip that sticker off because they're going to need it in the future. You can see the stickers also on the back cover of the notebook as well. So before I actually get into recording notes, I'm actually going to go to the back cover of the notebook so I can show you the number of options that are available. So there are options in the back cover of each notebook. You can see them here. Each pack of notebooks will also come with a bookmark. I unfortunately do not have a bookmark available on me right now. The main things that you would be using in that bookmark there are playback controls that include volume, which is here, and there is a menu on that bookmark as well. The bookmark is just for convenience purposes. It's so that you can use those settings without having to flip back to this back cover of the notebook every time. So it's not necessary, it's just helpful to have, so if students lose it, it's not the end of the world. And we usually have a couple extra floating in the office, but generally we don't have that many. So encourage them not to, try to keep track of it, not to lose it. So again, I understand it's hard to read some of these options, so you should have to kind of go based on my word here. The main ones that any students would be using are these upper options. All down here are all Wi-Fi options. Basically, all these notebooks that LiveScribe makes, these are newer because they use these notebooks for every version of their pen. And the pens that we use are older. They're from 2016. So they're a little bit older and they don't have Wi-Fi capability or Bluetooth capability. That's why we have this charging cable to be able to plug in our pen to the computer. So no Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, unfortunately. So you can just ignore these bottom options. So we're really just working with the top. So again, you're not always going to use all of these. They can just be helpful. For example, if you need to set the date and time, you can do so here. There's a set date and set time button, and you can use these number options here. There's also an AM and a PM button here. Now that's important because your recordings by default will be saved by the date and time that you took them. So it's important to have the correct time and date so that you know what time and date you took them, so you know what class you were in when you took the recording. The menu we won't use for a little bit. We're going to use it in a couple minutes. Volume, obviously, that controls the volume of the pen. Not only does the pen speak your recordings out loud if you ask it to, it also will announce certain menu options as you use them. So it will say them out loud. So if you don't want it to be making any noise in class, you can hit this mute button here at the very end. If you can't see it in the video, it looks like a megaphone that is circled and then crossed out like a stop sign. So if you hit that button all the way to the right, that will mute the pen so it will not make any noise at all in class, but it will still be able to record, so you don't have to worry about that. Finally, over here in this status box, there's just a couple of different helpful options. There we go. So you can see time and date. So you can hit any one of these buttons to check the status of certain things. So you can see the time, the date, battery life. The two helpful buttons, especially helpful buttons in here, are audio compression and storage. Audio compression allows you to change how much or how high quality your recording is, and higher quality recordings will take up more space on your pen. So that's really up to you. The recording quality of these pens is pretty great in and of itself, so you don't really need to have it on high. It'll rotate between low, medium, and high. And even the lowest setting is good. If you did need a higher quality for whatever reason, you certainly can. Just know it will take more space when you record. you can check to see how much space you have left with that storage button you see in the middle right. So if I click on that storage button, it will just show you, at first, it will show you in hours and minutes how much time you have. And if you tap on it again, it will show you in megabytes. Or actually, it will do the opposite of what I just said. My apologies. And I'll show you, so with any of these buttons that I'm saying to hit, the way that you click any of them is you tap the ink to the button. So right now, I'm going to tap on the storage button because I want to see how much storage I have. So if I tap storage, at first it's showing me in megabytes how much space I have. It's hard to get the camera to focus on it. And if I tap on it again, then on the screen it will show me in hours and minutes how much time I have. So I can't get it to focus, but it says I have 135 hours and 49 minutes of recording time. So that's a very significant amount of time. So obviously that's not going to fill up in just a week. But you want students to be checking their storage every so often because you want to make sure that their pen doesn't fill up. If the pen fills up while they're in the middle of class, it won't be able to record anymore, and then they won't be able to save whatever recording they're then going to miss in the middle of class. So what they will have to be doing is uploading notes to their computer and then deleting notes off of the pen. And I will go over all of that a little bit later. So just be aware of these options in the back cover. They can be very helpful for some students. And again, you normally would have a bookmark available as well. So now I'm just going to flip open to the front page here and take some sample notes. So before I actually take the notes, I just want you to note the icons that are on this page. You can see there are 3 sets of buttons. Down here in the bottom left, there is a record, pause, and stop button. Down here in the bottom right, there's just a star and a flag and a little tag mark. And then in the top right, there's a circled 1, 2, and 3. And the camera really doesn't want to work with me on this. Again, you kind of just have to take my word for it, I suppose. Now, with each of these sets of buttons, we're really not working with either of these. And it's for a reason that I mentioned earlier. So I'm just going to cross these out. We don't use these because they're not supported by the version of the pen that we have. So again, like I said earlier, these notebooks are newer and the pen is older. So this section of buttons, they're meant to be like a book, some sort of like bookmark function where you can bookmark certain things in your notes. But if you tap on them, you will get a message on your pen on the LED screen saying that this is not supported by the version of the pen you have. So I wouldn't worry about any of those. These up here, they are supported, but what they are shortcut buttons. And they are meant to be shortcuts to applications on the pen. But this version of the pen has virtually no applications. And the one that it does have is called sound stickers, and it doesn't do anything detrimental to help the student, so there's really no point in using them. So really, you're just focusing on using these buttons down here. And this is record, pause, and stop. This is how a student will record their audio as they're writing their notes. Now, if you look closely at this paper, there are little dots all over this paper. And those little dots are actually spaced out evenly. And the importance of them is that actually in the tip of this pen, under the ink, there is an infrared camera. And that camera is programmed to know the distance between the dots. And so whenever you write anything, it's actually tracking your pen's movements. And so it knows what you're writing, or at least it can track the words that you're writing. So regardless of whether or not you record audio, you will actually always have a digital copy of all of your notes available to you in the computer program whenever you upload your notes. So you'll basically have a PDF of all of your notes automatically available to you whenever you plug the pen into your computer, which is super convenient and nice. Whenever you do want to record audio, you would simply press on the record button. It's in the bottom left that I showed you here. Remember, again, it's record, pause, and stop. So I'm going to press the record button. And now on the LED screen, it says recording on the right, and then it will show you a time. So it just shows you how long it's been recording for. Now once it's recording, you're good to go. You can just start writing. So just so I have some sample notes, I'm just going to write my name up here, just so we have something to work with. Okay. Now I have two different stop options. I have pause and stop in the bottom left of my page. Pause, if I hit that, you'll be able to see on the screen that it won't end the audio recording, it just pauses it for the time being. And the duration that it was at stops, so the timer will stop. So right now I'm stuck at 38 seconds. All that means is that it's just not recording audio for the time being, but I could certainly keep writing while it's paused. That's perfectly fine. You just won't have audio for that portion when you upload your notes. This is good for if your professor takes a break, especially if you have like a longer class, like a 3-hour class, and there's a 15-minute break in between, and you don't want to be wasting space on the pen. You can certainly do that and just pause it for the time being, so you don't have a bunch of fluff in the middle of your recording. Whenever you want to start back up, you can either hit the pause button again, or you can hit record. And then you'll be able to see the timer has started back again, and it's now recording my voice again. When you are fully done with the recording, like you're out of class for the day, you can hit the stop button, and that will fully end the audio recording. It will show you a stop icon, which looks like that blurry dot in the middle of my LED screen, and it will show you the full duration of the recording, the beginning and the end. Now, once you see that duration, that means the recording has stopped, it has been saved to the pen, and now that just means you're done. So as soon as you have it saved to the pen like this, you can immediately listen back to it by tapping on your writing. So much like I've been tapping on these buttons with the ink, I'm just going to tap on my name written up here, and it will actually play back my recording. I'm just going to pull open a separate notebook really quick to use in place of my bookmark that I don't have right now. So I'll tap on my writing, I'll turn up the volume. So now you should be able to hear what I just was saying.
Okay. Now I have two different stop options. I have pause and stop in the bottom left of my page. Pause.
When you are done listening to a recording on your pen, you can hit the pause or stop buttons on your main paper, and that will stop it. Now when you tap on your writing, like I said earlier, your writing and your audio get synced up in real time. So if you were to tap later on your writing, for example, if I were to tap on the P in my first name, it will start toward the beginning of the recording. If I were to tap on the T in my last name, it will start at a later point in the recording because something else later was being said when I wrote that word, because I wrote that letter later than I wrote my first name. So I can navigate through my recording by simply tapping farther along in my writing to listen to farther along in the recording. Now, if you don't want to be trying to find the exact place that way, you can do so on your bookmark. And again, please forgive me, I'm going to use the options that are in this beginner starter notebook, but they will look exactly the same on your bookmark that you have. So you can see at the bottom of this page, I have volume, as well as playback speed, and this position bar. It says jump to position. So again, I can change the volume on the right if I want to. This position bar is interesting. What I can do with it is if I tap at the beginning of this position bar, where it says 0%, that will jump me to the very beginning of the recording that I'm listening to. If I were to tap in the middle at 50%, it will jump halfway through the recording. You can treat this like you were watching a YouTube video and you were skipping through with a progress bar. It's very similar to that. But instead of sliding, you just tap where you want. The playback speed is fairly self-explanatory, but that can just speed up or slow down the voice, and that can be helpful for certain students who, if if their professor is talking too slowly or too quickly, and it's more beneficial for them to listen at a different speed, they can keep tapping that plus or minus button, and it will speed it up or slow it down the more they tap on that respective button. The middle button there will just turn the speed back to normal. So those two things, the position bar and the playback speed, just allow the student to change up how they're listening to their recording from the notebook itself. So that is just the absolute basics of taking notes with this, like recording your notes in here. A couple of things to note, just like little tips. One is any of these buttons that you are pressing, you are going to get ink on them. It's almost unavoidable. Do not worry about it. The ink will not affect you being able to press the button. It will just cover it with ink, but it's perfectly fine. The pen will still be able to recognize the button you are pressing on. Also, please note that you are more than welcome to use any sort of highlighting or whiteout or any sort of material you would use in a notebook that's not your pen that you would normally use in another notebook. Just note that when you upload your notes to the computer program, you will not have those available. So you won't, like the highlighters or whiteout, they will not transfer over, or marker or anything like that. Only your pen strokes will transfer over because the pen has a camera in it and all the other tools do not. Okay. The next thing I'm going to go over really quickly is just how to delete your notes. And again, this is going to be through the menu of the pen. So because I cannot get the camera to focus on the menu that much, you're really going to have to just follow along with my voice, and I'll try to go as slowly as possible so you can see the menu items that I'm looking at. So because I don't have the bookmark, I'm going to flip open to the back cover of this notebook. And then I'm going to just use the menu that is here. So the menu up here, it's a circular menu, and you can see there's 4 directional inputs, there's 4 arrows, and in the center there's a smaller circle that says menu. There, you can see it a little better there. So the center says menu. So the way this menu works is that all of the menu items are listed vertically. So we are going to use the up arrow and the down arrow to go through the menu options. You're going to start at the top of the main menu. So because you're at the very top, you'll start hitting the down arrow to go through the menu options. Whenever you want to select something, you go to the right, and if you ever want to go back, you go to the left. When you select a new option, you're actually going into a submenu of the pen, so then you will start at the top of a new menu, and then you'll have to start going down again. So to make sure you get to the very top of the main menu, you want to double press on the main menu button. So I'm not actually going to press once, I'm going to press twice on it. So I'm going to go 1, 2.
Main menu.
So now I'm at the main menu. Now, as I said, all of the menu items are listed vertically. So I'm going to press the down arrow.
Applications.
Now I'm at Applications. I'm going to press it one more time and go to Paper Replay.
Paper replay.
Paper Replay are where all of my recordings are stored, so that's where I want to go in to delete recordings. To select Paper Replay, I'm going to hit to the right. Now I am at the very top of the Paper Replay menu. So I'm in a new menu, and I'm at the very top, so I want to start going down again. Now this first option is Record a New Session, but you could simply just record a new session by pressing the Record button on your notebook, so there's really no reason to go through the menu and do this. If I go down one more, the next option is Play Session. This allows you to play back a session. Instead of clicking on your writing from the notebook, you could choose a specific session, and they will be named by the date and time that you took them. So if I were to hit to the right, then I will see today's recording. I know you can't see it on the screen, but it will say today and the time that it was recorded. So you could choose a recording like that. You could use the down arrow or the up arrow to go through your recordings, and then hit to the right to select the one you want to play back. But I'm going to hit to the left to go back to where I was. So now I am back at Play Session. I'm going to hit the down arrow, and now I am at the option called Delete Session. This option allows you to delete a single session at a time. If I hit the down arrow one more time, I can delete all sessions. So it's really up to you if there's a very particular session that you want to keep on here, like if there's a very important recording you want to keep there for the rest of the semester, then I would delete sessions one at a time and not delete the one that you want to keep. If you have it all on your computer and you're fine getting rid of all of it, you can just delete all. So it's really up to you. I'll show you, for example, I will delete all sessions right now. So I'm on delete all sessions. I just hit to the right, and now the pen says delete all sessions on SmartPen. So ask me the question that I want to, or do I want to do that? I will hit to the right one more time to confirm. Then you'll hear that knocking noise, and it says all sessions deleted. So now you know it's deleted off the pen. And that's it. It's as simple as that. There are other things in the menu besides deleting things, but none of them are super detrimental to you using the pen, so I'm not going to go over them in this video, but feel free to explore them, and if you have questions about them, please reach out to a staff member in the office. Now, when you delete things off of the pen, you're not deleting your pen's memory of your notes. So you will still have your written notes. It just gets rid of the audio recording. So in a worst case scenario, if you forget to upload your notes to the computer before you delete them on the pen, you won't delete everything. You're just deleting the audio. So fortunately, you will still have the PDF copy of your notes, but you will be missing the lecture. So to prevent that, please make sure that you're uploading your stuff to the computer program that's called Echo Desktop. Make sure it's on there before you delete anything off of the pen. So past that, that's really about it. The last thing that I want to go over is Echo Desktop. So I am just going to quickly try to change my input here. So give me one moment. Actually, before I turn off this camera, just note that while talking about Echo Desktop, I am going to be mentioning this center sticker that's on the front and back cover of every notebook. It says tap here to archive. I will refer to it as the tap here to archive button or sticker. So please just keep this in mind before I start talking about Echo Desktop. Okay. Thank you for bearing with me. So now I'm just going to show you quickly Echo Desktop. Now, this is the program that you're going to upload all of your notes to. And obviously I'm currently running on a PC, so this is the PC version of the program. The Mac version will look a little bit different, and I will try to describe the Mac differences as best as I can as I go along. So as you upload your notes, all of your notebooks will start appear under Active Notebooks. For Mac users, yours will also appear in this left toolbar here, but yours will not say Active Notebooks. Yours will say SmartPen and then a number. That is the name of your SmartPen, and they will appear under that. When your notebooks fill in, as you keep recording notes, they will appear with this naming process. They will appear as Notebook 1, Notebook 2, so on and so forth. Now, that is just the default name for the notebook. You can right-click on it, and you can rename it whatever you want. Mac users, you can just double-click on the notebook, and you should be able to rename it whatever you want. So you can rename it for the class that you are taking. If I click on a notebook, I will then be able to see a tile view of all of my notes here. And then if I want to look at a specific page, I double-click on it. Now, you can see you're going to have black-colored handwriting, which you can see here, and you're going to have green-colored handwriting. The difference between the two is black-colored handwriting means there is no audio associated with your notes. So that means you just wrote your notes and you didn't record the lecture that day. So again, you'll still have the PDF copy, just no audio. Green color means that there is audio with your notes. So any green colored notes you have, you'll actually be able to go and click anywhere on the notes, very similarly to how I tapped on my writing in the notebook. So I can just click on it,
I want to talk about building
and you can watch yourself write
not
in real time
not only homosexuality
and listen back to the recording.
can be linked together with the family issues, but it can also link together with immigration issues these days.
You will have playback controls that are available at the bottom. Mac users, you will have a play button similar to this one in the bottom left-hand corner, and if you click on that one, it'll bring up a separate menu that should appear around here with the same playback controls. These arrows will skip you backward and forward 10 seconds in the recording. These stars will not do anything. They're part of the not supported features that I mentioned earlier, so don't worry about them. You'll have a progress bar that you can skip along the recording if you want to earlier or later. And then you will also have slow and fast. For Mac users, it will just have a minus and a plus. This is your playback speed to either speed up or slow down the recording as you listen to it. You also have page navigation up here in the top right. For Mac users, yours will be in the bottom center right here. So you can flip to a singular page. You can like go one page at a time. You can flip to the very end of your notebook. You can also type in a page number if you want to as well. And you also will have zoom here as well. So you can just zoom in or out on the page if you need to. This button here, which I used earlier, will flip you between looking at the tile view of all of your pages or looking at a single page view. And Mac users, that button should be down here in the bottom right. Now, when you were playing back a recording, you might have noticed that over here on the left, all of these pages showed up in their own separate window. This window is your Pencast window, and this actually shows you all of the notes that go with that one recording that you have taken. So in this example, you can see there are 4 pages of notes. That means the student who took these notes he wrote 4 pages of notes in that one audio recording session. So it just easily shows you which pages go with what day of recording. But I can click on this X button to go back to my normal menu. Now just a couple other helpful features in here. You actually can, while this program cannot read aloud what you have written, it does recognize the words that you are writing so long as you write fairly legibly. So in this search bar in the top right, if I search for a key term in my notes, for example, the word chapter, over on the left-hand side, it's going to pull up every instance of that word it can find, and then it will highlight that word for me in yellow. So you can see if I click on this first page here, I now have the word chapter, and it's highlighted in yellow for me. So this can be an incredibly helpful feature to just quickly search through your notes and look for key terms, rather than having to flip through your pages by yourself. You also will have an option called to create custom notebooks, and really this is just making a custom folder for you. Now, like all of these notebooks that you have, you were renaming them, you can treat them as folders that you would have on your computer that you would save documents in. They're just folders that are named notebooks. So creating a custom notebook, as you can see here, that's just creating a new folder for you to put whatever you want into. So for PC users, you just click Create New Custom Notebook. Mac users, you will go to File and Custom Notebooks and create a new one. PC users, you can do the same. I can name the custom notebook whatever I want to, and I would just click OK. Now once it's created, I can put whatever I want to into that custom notebook. To do that, I can just choose whatever page of notes I want, and I click and drag it. I hold down my left click, and I drag it into that custom notebook. And now that will not get rid of the original copy, as you can see. It just puts a new copy of that page of notes in this custom notebook. So this can be helpful for if you're preparing for a test or a presentation and you want just a certain section or chapter of notes to be together in one central place. You can create a custom notebook for that and just drag and drop your notes into there. Finally, the last sort of helpful thing you can do is up in this audio tab, you can look at just your recordings. So if you wanted to just listen to the recording and not worry about looking at the notes, you certainly can do so. and you can see they're all named by default by the date and time that you took them. If you first highlight them with this blue color and then click on them again, you can rename them to whatever you want. So you could say, this is my discussion about chapter 1 in this class. And then to the left, you can see all these page icons. The page icon means that you have written notes associated with that. So if I double click on that page of notes, it will bring me right to that page and start playing those notes.
Participle, sorry.
If you ever need to print out the PDF of your notes, you certainly can. You would go to Share and Share Page, or you could first select a notebook first and share the entire notebook. You would do with your computer. Now you can see you're going to have a chance to share audio or pages or notes in audio. So you certainly can do whatever you wish. If you want to just like print out the pages, just get the audio. The audio can be helpful because you can put it onto like an MP3 player or put it on your smartphone and listen to the recording if you want to. But just know that the audio is not meant to be shared with other students. And I'll go over that as well. I'm going to quickly touch on the loan agreement that we have. But basically, you're not meant to share the audio with other students. So even though you can download the audio, use it for your own purposes, but please do not share it with other students. Now, as I mentioned before I shifted over to Echo Desktop, I was going to talk about that tap here to archive sticker. Now, the importance of that is tied into all of these different notebooks or folders that I have available to myself. Now, in order for your notes to automatically go into the correct notebook, you will have to be using that tap here to archive button. The way you use that is how you use every other button. You tap the ink to that button. You'll get a message on your LED screen on the pen. You can just ignore the message. It's just saying that your pen is registered to that notebook or something like that. You just want to make sure that you tap once before you use a notebook, and you want to do it every time before you use that notebook. If you were going to use your number 1 notebook all day long, you don't need to tap it every single time you use or write in the number 1 notebook. You just tap it once at the beginning of the day and you're good. The only reason you would tap on a different one is if you were to shift to your number 2 or your number 3 notebook. You would tap on that respective notebook's sticker. The reason that we do this is because the pages that we have here, the pages have no identifiers. So the pen cannot tell the difference between pages in number 1's notebook and pages in number 2's notebook. But the stickers, they have a specific identifier. So the camera in the pen can tell, okay, this is the sticker for a number 1 notebook. This is a sticker for a number 2 notebook, and so on. So basically, you're just telling the pen which notebook you're recording in, and then when you upload your notes to the computer, it already knows to sort all of your pages into the correct folders on its own. If you sort into the wrong notebook, you forget to use a sticker or something in the computer, it's not the end of the world. As you saw with the custom notebooks, you can just click and drag a page of notes into the correct place. And then once you make a copy, you can delete the original page once there's a copy of it floating somewhere else. There's 2 more things I just want to go over very quickly with Echo Desktop. The first one is archiving your notes. Now, I've gone over pretty much everything you will need for general use. Archiving your notes is something that you're going to be doing at the end of the semester. And this is incredibly important because basically when you archive your notebooks, you are retiring your notebooks. You're telling the pen, okay, I am no longer using these notebooks. I will be using a new notebook come next semester. Because we loan these pens out on a semesterly basis. And so next semester, you may not have, or a student may not have, the same pen that they used this semester unless they specifically request that. So basically what you want to do is you click on or highlight over a notebook. You can right click on it, or you can hit File and go to Archive. Now you can see for me it's grayed out right now. That's because you have to have your pen plugged in when you archive your notes, and it has to be the pen that recorded those notes. So you couldn't just plug in any pen and archive the notes. It has to be the same pen that took the notes that you're trying to archive. Again, to reiterate the importance of that, you want to do it at the end of the semester before you return your pen, because then next semester, if you have a different pen, you won't be able to archive these notes and then you'll have a mess on your hands. Now, as I said earlier, the pages have no identifiers on them. So the pen can't tell the difference between, first of all, it can't tell the difference between a number 1 and a number 2 notebook, but it also cannot tell the difference between 2 different number 1 notebooks or number 2 notebooks, number 3, etc. So if you have 2 notebooks of the same number, which you would in 2 different semesters, the pen can't tell the difference between those 2. So what will end up happening is if you don't archive your notes, you'll still have your notes from the first semester. You'll have your written PDF notes. And then come the next semester, because you didn't archive the other ones, what will happen is all of your notes from the new semester will copy exactly over your old notes. So you will have pages of notes with 2 different recordings on them. And it will become incredibly messy. So that's why we want to archive our notes to prevent that. So again, just end of the semester, you want to plug in your pen to your computer, archive your notes. It just shifts them into this separate section called Archive Notes, and then you're good to go. Because then next semester, when you use a different pen and use a different notebook, they will load into their own section as they did the first time you used the pen, and you'll be absolutely fine. The very last thing is when you do end up using this program, and I unfortunately can't show you an example now because I don't have a pen that I need to register. What will happen is when you have a pen, because you've never used that pen on your computer before, it's going to ask you to register that pen to your computer. When you register it to your computer, you will have 2 options to either use a new account or use an existing account. You will choose use an existing account, and it'll ask you if you want to authorize it. You want to hit the authorize button. Then it will prompt you to either new account, existing account. You want to use the existing account and then enter the account information that the staff member from the SSD office gives you. Once that's done, then you should be good to go. It'll ask you to rename the pen. Please keep the pen name the same. That's how we keep track of who has what pen. And then you're good to go. You only have to do that once. And then from then on, every time you plug the pen into your computer, when this program is running, it should transfer your new notes. Now, when your notes are transferring, it can take a while, particularly if you haven't transferred in a while. Please just let it run. You'll see a transfer. It'll say transferring up here in the top. Please just let it run and complete. Please do not unplug your pen. It can cause a lot of issues if you unplug your pen in the middle of it. You also sometimes might get an indication to update the firmware of your pen. Please do those as well. Please update the firmware of your pen if you are prompted to do so. Just note that if you do, it can take up to 10 minutes or more. So please don't do it in the middle of class and try to sneak it in. It can take a little while, so I would let it run while you're at home and then go do something else while it's finishing. So that's really an overview of Echo Desktop. There's not really much else that you can do with it that's going to be really game breaking. Very quickly, last thing, you just want to make sure before a student leaves the office, you want to make with the pen and the notebooks, you want to make sure they fill out the loan agreement for the pen. Our administrative assistant, Jackie, should have the loan agreements available, or you should just know where they are already. Students just have to fill out their name, the name of the pen, which the first time you turn on the pen, or whenever you turn it off and back on, it will say the name. So it'll say Smart Pen and a number. That's what you want to write in the equipment name. The student will put their phone number and their email address, and then just quickly go over the paragraph that is on the loan agreement. You will see it says what the person is responsible for and what they have to bring back at the end of the semester. So while it's in their care, they are liable for the Smart Pen itself, the small cap, the plastic cap that goes on the pen that I showed you earlier, the charging cable, and the carrying case that everything comes in. If a student needs additional ink or notebooks at any time, they can absolutely come on in and we can give them more. that is no problem whatsoever. While it's in their care, they are liable for the pen and any damages that occur to the pen. However, the pens are pretty sturdy, so if students ask about how often the pens break, in the 2 years I was here, I believe I saw one pen break. So these are pretty sturdy. Usually they are just fine even if you were to drop them or so on and so forth. So that's not a super big concern. If, however, this smart pen starts acting up or stops working at any point, just have the student bring it into the office so that we can take a look at it and assess what's wrong. And finally, something I mentioned earlier, but the physical notes that the student takes are theirs. They get to keep those. We don't ask for the notebooks back. They can keep those as well. However, students get special permission to take the recordings that they take as per their accommodations. So it's only meant for their use and not meant for distribution. So we ask that students do not share the audio with other students, but they certainly can share their physical notes with people if they need to. Then the student simply signs once they agree to those terms, and then they are on their way. So I know that's a lot of information, and it's kind of broken up in a weird way. I apologize, the camera was not working better for me, but that really is just an overview of how this works, how we loan out pens, how the pen operates. If you have any additional questions, please reach out to a staff member in the office. They should be able to answer your question, and I hope this was helpful.